Today, I have a question from a Christian, which is similar to the ones I get quite often. And it's how can we focus on animal rights over the gospel? Well, to begin with, it's not over the gospel. And maybe the simple thing is go back and really read what it says. But today I'm going to go back and look at some of the Hebrew as well. If we start with Deuteronomy 6:5, and what it says is we're to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our strength or might. Now, if we love God above everything, which is what this verse means, that if you took like a poll and you put it in, and that's the love of God, somewhere around half, or maybe even less, is who we are. And that's including our ideals, our family, everything, our dreams, everything has to be subordinated to God. And if we love God in that way, we also have to love the whole of his creation. And that includes all people, all animals, and the environment. We can't leave any of them out. And Jesus was, when he repeated this, remember that the language that was in that Middle East at that time was Aramaic. And the Hebrew doesn't translate directly into Aramaic, so he was explaining it. And he added the passage of, and love our neighbor as ourselves. Now, who's our neighbor? And I guarantee anybody that lives almost anywhere, you're going to have a squirrel that comes into your yard, or a bunny rabbit, and mice, and whatever else is in the area. And you can have deer come into your yard or around you, and a possum or a raccoon. They're our neighbors. We used to have a fox that used to come in and use our wood pile, which was under a tarp, as a den. And she raised her young there. And I did a photo, whatever you want to call it, like a photo journal. And I named it Our Neighbor, the Foxes. Now that's gospel. If we understand the full meaning. And unfortunately, some pastors don't. They don't get the history. They don't bring in what it is. They take stuff just on the surface. And you're not going to be 100% off. But when you come in to really seeking the heavenly will of God, the only way we're going to see that is take a look at what is in the new heaven and new earth, because we know there's some corruption that takes place in the heaven that we have, the normal heaven that we look at. But in the new creation, God's going to create a new heaven and a new earth. And the new earth is going to be a lot bigger. And New Jerusalem is huge. It wouldn't even fit on this planet. And when we look at that, there are a definition that's in there that said there'll be no pain, no suffering, and no death. Now, if you follow the Lord's Prayer, we're to bring that heavenly will to earth as it is in heaven. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Isn't that part of the Lord's Prayer? Well, That's what we're talking about. So if you live that way, animal rights and veganism are according to the gospel. Think about Jesus. No place in the Bible do you see him eating any animal product. And you say, well, a Passover? No, because that meal, there's a lot of the different sects of Judaism, they didn't eat animals. They didn't believe in slaughtering the animals because it wasn't of God. It violated his heavenly will. And that even came from the Hebrew text. They understood that. So we are to live in the heavenly will of God, which is a gospel message as well as a Hebrew message. Because most of what Jesus talked about is also in the Hebrew text. Amen.